Hello, hello. I am Keisha with the Keisha Podcast Talk Show. I have been getting many inquiries. And the first inquiry is, am I going to do a full-blown talk show? Is it going to be live? Is it going to be on television? What are my goals? What direction do I want to take my show? I was looking up the definition of a talk show. And they say a talk show is distinguished from other television programs by certain common attributes. In a talk show, one person or a group of people or guests discusses various topics but put forth by a talk show host. It says this discussion can be in the form of an interview or a simple conversation about important social, political, or religious issues and events. They say the personality of the host shapes the tone and style of the show. A common feature or unwritten rule of talk shows is to be based on fresh talk, which is talk that is spontaneous or has the appearance of spontaneity. So when I was reading that, which came from the encyclopedia, it was talking about the concept and basically what is a talk show. And when you think about a talk show host, I think about myself because I'm hosting my podcast. And I guess my question is, do I want to do a full talk show? And the answer is yes. I think that would be a very, very exceptional idea. I think that we have to first decide, do we really want it to be a talk show where we're continuing the conversation? Or do we want to, want it to be more of a show? When you think about a podcast, it's basically what I'm doing, spontaneous conversation. But a talk show can also distinguish from other television programs by certain common attributes. So I guess it's more to the audience. What is it that you want to hear? What is it that you want to talk about? What is it that I can bring that would be different from all these other talk shows and podcasts and everything that's already out there? I guess that's the question that I'm asking myself, because I want my show to be engaging. I want it to be uplifting. I want it to be encouraging. I want at the end of the conversation, I want you to feel motivated. I want you to feel encouraged. I want you to go out there and and take in consideration every single thing that I may have just talked about in that topic. I have some very amazing, I think very interesting topics coming up. I was asked about the Bachelorette. Do I want to appear on the Bachelorette so I can find a available bachelor? The only thing about the Bachelorette, I don't know the full concept of the show. I've never watched it. And I don't know the full concept of The Bachelor because I've never watched it. But for me to go on The Bachelorette, I would have to be able to almost feel like interview the men that would be selected as choices. I wouldn't want that to be done for me. I wouldn't want just 50 or however many random guys to just appear on the show, and then I have to take the time and try to wing through 50 different men. No. Even if the rule is part of 50 guys, I want to be able to choose those 50 guys. I want to be able to already know that the 50 guys if that's their, if that's how many they choose, that's on the show, that those 50 guys are compatible with me. I'm so into not wasting time. And I would not want to waste my time trying to go through 50 different guys to see if we are a fit, to see if we compatible, to see if we have chemistry, to see if there's a spark, to see if we're vibing. I would rather know that those 50 guys that I get to choose from, I'm already knowing that we're compatible. I'm already knowing that there's chemistry. I'm already knowing that we're vibing. I'm already knowing that we have things in common. And now you're on this show, and at the end of this show, I know that whomever I choose, I know that we're going to be what? A fit. Because I done already took that time to wean out anybody that I felt I would not be what? Compatible with. Exactly. You heard me say my thoughts exactly. I was asked, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by my thoughts exactly? I don't think that I mean anything in particular by that. I think that's just more of a figure of speech, more of a saying, more of a quote. When you look it up and you try to see, is there a definition about my thoughts exactly? I think that's pretty much saying that's exactly how I feel. That's kind of saying, you read my mind. It's like it's one of those saying that can be interpreted in so many different ways. It's like another phrase. It's like when you look in your, the thesis, and when they say some of the options as far as how you can interpret that, my thoughts exactly. In the power thesis, it says you can interpret as I feel the same way. I fully agree with you. Couldn't agree more. Ditto. Exactly what I had in mind, exactly what I think, exactly what I thought, exactly what I was thinking. Have said it better myself. I agree with you. My thoughts exactly. I agree with your opinion. I assume that's much. I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. I figured, I had in mind, I have the same opinion. I second that. So those are some other many ways how you can interpret my thoughts exactly. My thoughts exactly. I want you to know that I'm a very loving and caring person. I am who I am. I have my good, I have my bad, I have my ups, I have my downs. But I'm also one of these people that don't like to feel that somebody is trying to screw me over. I am very upfront. I say what I say, and I speak. That's it, and I'm going to speak what I say. I don't feel the need to sugarcoat things, to beat around the bush, but sometimes to get your point across, sometimes you just have to be direct. Sometimes that's the whole purpose of this show. It's my thoughts exactly. Do I need to hit explicit? Which means that sometimes I might, I may take it there. Because when I start thinking about what's going on in this nation today, and I think about how it affects us all, I have a problem with the things that needs to be done and it's not being done. We so busy always trying to just brush things under the rug or put things off for later or ignore the reality. But we're in a day and a time that we can't keep ignoring the reality. If we keep ignoring the reality, we all know how things can turn out. I guess I've just been through some things, and I guess that's more defined as experience in life. When I have speakers on my show, I want people to be able to
be open and honest and be able to not be afraid to say what it is that they want to say, not be afraid to feel what they feel, because we are all human. So my next topic that I'm going to discuss is going to be the final aspect of what I'm going to say about would you date yourself. It was so overwhelming at the amount of emails and things that I got in regards to that subject. I think that topic, I think it really hit a nerve for some people. I think it really made people stop for a second and really think about themselves. I think when they looked in the mirror this morning, I think they asked themselves that question: would they date themselves? And I think that based upon the information that I received, I think that a lot of people realized that the answer was no, that they would not date themselves. And that made them realize that if they wouldn't date themselves, then how do they expect somebody else to be able to deal with them, to put up with them? We all have our ups and our downs and our flaws, our good, our bad. But when you can look at yourself and realize, I might do need to make some changes. I might not need to continue to do this. Yet I am a lot to deal with. I think I made people realize things in ways that they had not yet never realized or never looked at it in that light, And I'm glad to know that. I am very applaud, because that lets me know that I said it and people really took that into consideration. They really stopped for a moment and they asked themselves, would they date themselves? And I guess that also made people realize that maybe I ain't the easiest person to get along with. Maybe I'm not the easiest person to be married to or the easiest person to date. And I think that came from a wide variety, not just females, but men as well. I think when you stop and you analyze self, that's when you honestly get the answer. And I think before maybe I introduced that particular topic, I don't think people really took that time to really ask themselves that question. Would I date myself? If it was on the other foot, and I met me, would I want to date me? Would I go out? Would I say yes? Would I say no? And I'm so happy, because that brings what? That helps you to identify your own truth. That also helps you to identify your weaknesses. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with revamping. Damn, I need to get my shit together. I do need to change some things about myself. When I really, I am a lot to put up with. And I'm glad that people were able to say, yes, I do need to make some adjustments. So the next time you go out there and you meet somebody, it'll probably be totally different. Your marriage, your relationships can probably get stronger. You can work out some things. You may become a better person. Your spouse may become a better person, more able to live with, more lovable. For some, you may be able to rekindle that spark, that flame. And that's a good thing. Marriage is a beautiful thing when you're in it for the right reasons. Somebody asked me, would I marry a person even if I wasn't in love with them? And I think that that's more of a personal question. I don't think that's a question that I would answer openly, because we all have our reasons why we do different things. And sometimes you may not be madly in love with the person, but that doesn't mean that you don't love the person. Because that's not the same as marrying somebody for their money. That's not the same as a contract that says, yeah, we're going to get married and you're going to sleep in this room, I'm going to sleep in this room, and we're going to get together when it's convenient. I don't think that would be defined as love. I don't think there can ever be love anywhere in those type of situations. But we all do things for whatever reasons that we see fit. And I'm not going to sit here and try to analyze people's reasons for why that they do things. Because like I said, I've been told that I'm heartless, So, but that doesn't mean that I don't love a person. That doesn't mean that I don't care about a person. It just means that I choose not to put up with what? The BS. The unnecessary. The lies, the half-truths, or the cheating and infidelity. That's what that means. It doesn't mean that I don't love or care about a person. It just means that I choose not to put up with all the extra. And to me, that's defined as the extra. You hear the saying all the time, life is too short. And life really is what you make of it. So, the way I see it, why am I going to put up with something that I know that I don't have to put up with? And I think that's part of the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And I know that I'm not going to go out there and mistreat a person. I'm not going to go out there and be unfaithful and do all those things that you shouldn't be doing, but I'm going to just put it that way. So, but at the same time, I'm not going to not be true to who I am either. I'm going to just say that. So as I move along, we're going to go into the topic, would you? And this is going to be about not necessarily relationship or marriage, but can you embrace change? Can you embrace change? And the reason why I'm going to talk about can you embrace change is because everything that we do in life, no matter how you defined it, it comes with what? Some form of what? Sometimes you do have to do what? Make changes. So can you embrace change? And if you had to embrace change, could you do it? How would you do it? Would you be adamant about it? Would you be reluctant? Embracing change means seeing adversity as an opportunity and being willing to try new things or improve oneself. It also involves having a positive perspective and being open to adapting to new situations. It's also accepting and embracing change can make it easier to deal with and can lead to personal growth and success. So when you're thinking about embracing change, you also think about all the positive things that can come with that. With you just deciding that, today I'm going to wake up with a different attitude, a different mindset, and I'm going to go out there and do what? They say with the right strategies, you can begin embracing change and build the life you've always dreamed of. Quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, not in his goals, but in his transitions, man is great. Do you get that? It says not in his goals, but in his transitions, man is great. Think about that for a second. Okay? When you decide to set out to accomplish something, do you set out with a positive attitude? Do you doubt yourself? Do you look at things and be like, maybe I can do this, maybe I can't do that? Do you feel kind of like discouraged? Do you feel like, maybe not? How do you embrace change? Now, more than ever, it's very imperative that we find new ways to embrace change, because when we learn to embrace change, it is what? What is it? It's saying that I am willing to stand out from what? Others and be what? True to what? Myself. Yes, that's basically what it means. It's just like anything in life. When you're having difficult times, we're always told, quote unquote, this too shall pass. You hear that all the time. This too shall pass. There's brighter days ahead. Embracing change means you see adversity as an opportunity. Do you really think that? Do you really look at adversity as an opportunity? Because I don't. I don't welcome adversity. That's why I try to live my life in such a positive way. But at the same time, I know that what shit happens. Embracing change means you want to try new things. Not necessarily being adventurous, but you're saying that I am willing to improve what? Myself. That's what it's saying. Embracing change is also optional. In order to grow, embracing change is not optional. Now remember that. Because if you want to grow, sometimes it requires you to make changes in order to do that. But everybody don't. You have people that's in this world that's very content with things as is. Sometimes as we go through life, you get complacent. You get kind of stuck in that same routine. Day after day after day after day. That's what you know, so that's what you do. And you cannot adjust to doing it any other way or doing anything different. That's why they say embracing change is optional. Because it is. Because some people can't do it. It's not that they don't want to do it. It's just that they cannot do it. Because they're so stuck in the what? The now. This is how it is. This is what they know. And sometimes when you get like that, you could be like that way for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And that's what you know, and that's what you're gonna do. That's what you're gonna stick with. Why? Because you know that has worked for you. And sometimes people be afraid to start over. Sometimes people be afraid to embrace something different. And that's okay too. To a certain extent, I think that that's okay. Because the reason why I say to a certain extent, because if you can't embrace change, what would happen? Okay? Because they always say that change, you should see it as a opportunity for growth and things like that. But why do you think it is that when a loved one die and they're 80 or 90 years of age, it's hard for them to go on with life? Why is that? Because they were so used to that person. They were stuck in that, that situation. Not stuck in a bad way, but that's what they knew. Especially if that man was did it all. And that woman depended upon that man for everything. And then that man suddenly dies. And now it's like, now what? See, if you've never learned how to make it on your own, then when that person dies, it's going to be very, very almost impossible for you to make it on your own. Because why? That's what you know. That person has been the guide, the leader, your backbone, your strength, everything. And that's why it happens that when a person lose a loved one and they've been married for 30 and 40 and 50 and 60 and 70 years, and you wonder why they can't go on. You just answered that question. That's why they can't go on. That's why it be so difficult. Embracing change requires that you keep an open mind. You should always stay in the mode of taking in all things that you possibly can. You shouldn't hold on to too much. You shouldn't want to stay stuck. They say you stay stuck. I don't know how you define staying stuck. What do you define as staying stuck? Because I've heard that before. That you get stuck. You got stuck. How do you get stuck? Well, tell me. Okay, just for instance, okay. How do you get unstuck? Okay? How do you get unstuck? That's the question. How do you get unstuck? Even when change seems scary, sometimes you're doing it all the time, embracing this, embracing that, but it should lead you to what? A better day, the road to success, better opportunities, better outcomes. But when you intentionally embrace change, whether it's something big, whether it's something small, you should gain what? You should gain more personal development. You should grow. It should make you a better person in so many different ways. I think even with that, you have the good, the bad, you have the ins, the outs. And I think we all have to be able to say what to ourselves? Yes, I can what? Change. Yes, I can. Because what if it's necessary for growth? Do you keep a journal? How many people take out the time and just write down their thoughts or their feelings or their goals? Do you keep an agenda, a calendar, a schedule, or a log? What do you do? What if you had to just say, okay, every day we can grow into a better version of ourselves. You can meet somebody new, improve a skill, do some things that can add or enhance your life. That's a small step that would take things forward every day. Then you think about bigger life changes. If I had to say right now, what would be a bigger life change that I would really want to do to embrace change? I want to make money. I need money. When I think about no matter what my goals are or what I want to do at this point in my life, it requires money. It's just that simple. It requires money. To change anything that's going on in this world, this nation, it requires money. You can't stop end world hunger. You can't end poverty. You can't end government assistance. You can't take the homeless people off the street. You can't do any of those things if there is not the money to do it. See, I want to do it as a whole, as a nation, state by state, country by country, a global change. Because it does not have to be welfare, government assistance. You don't have to have homeless people on the streets. You don't have to have world hunger. Why should anybody be hungry? When you have programs out there like food stamps and things like that, you have food banks and all these things that's open to help people to be able to do what? Eat, to have a hot meal. But the thing about it is we shouldn't even have to have those programs. Because if the changes were made in the right aspects and in the right areas and the right part of the climates, the right regions, then all these things will no longer be existent. Because those that are homeless will have a roof over their heads. Those that are part of what you would define as world hunger. Why in God's name should there be world hunger? When we have a nation of 7.5, billion people. When you have governments all across the globe. Why in God's name should there be world hunger when they can take money out the budget and put towards a war that doesn't even have anything to do with the state or the nation, your country? Billions of dollars, okay? For a war that's not even a war that we're fighting. But they want to pull money to help those to take the homeless people off the streets. To stop end world hunger, to end poverty. Do you realize that we shouldn't even still have that? None of that should even still be existing. That's called like tax brackets. Because if the tax brackets were targeting the right people, it targets the what? Your lower class, not your upper class. It's not targeting the ones with the money. They the ones get all the kind of breaks in the damn world, but yet they the ones making money, but yet they getting all the breaks in the world. And then what do those get that's considered in that lower income bracket? You don't even have to have what you define as a lower income bracket. Because if minimum wage and the pay scale and all that was the right where it should be, then none of that would exist. But that's another show for another day. So even when change seems scary, you don't even realize it, but it's a part of everyday life. We're always, doing something all the time, embracing this. And that just leads to what? Success. If you can intentionally embrace change, both small, no matter what it is, you gain more personal development and deeper sense of fulfillment. Now, I don't know. And maybe I can agree with that. I'm looking at this article And the importance of embracing change. It says life has few guarantees. But that's the thing. Life can have all the guarantees that you want. But one thing you can count on is change. You can't stop life's ebbs and flows. But they say you can learn how to accept change in your life. Life, I'm going to tell that to anybody. It's what you make it. You can live it and enjoy it. Or you can live it and be going around depressed. It's what you choose, because that's a choice. 6 ways to embrace change. You can write it down. They say, C.S. Lewis quote, "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream." And you're not. Accept your fears. You know what my fear was? A quote by Andre Lord. It says, "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid." My fear was to go on a cruise. And the reason why I didn't ever want to go on a cruise was because of being out in the middle of the Atlantic. 4 years ago, I went on my first cruise to Mexico. I was out there for about, I think the total cruise was like 5, almost 6 days. We went to Cozumel. We went to Costa Maya. And we went one more place. But it was 3 different parts of Mexico that I had the opportunity to go to. I ended up going at the last minute. It was not even something that I had planned doing. It's just that somebody else was going and they ended up not going. And I basically went. And I am so happy that I went, because that finally gave me that opportunity to get over that fear. Now, I don't have no fear of going out in the middle of the Atlantic. And why did I have that fear? Because I thought about, if something happens on that cruise, you out in the middle of nowhere. You're relying on the U.S. Coast Guard to come to your rescue. And I didn't like the thought of that. Because you're out in the middle of nowhere. So I had that fear because I didn't like that. I didn't like that. It's like you have no defense. You're almost powerless. You're just stuck. You're like ass out. If you had to jump off the damn ship, you couldn't even do that because of the water. So that was my biggest fear. But after I actually went on the cruise, I was glad I did. And now I no longer have that fear. Another thing they say you can do is hire a coach. Maya Angelou quoted, "If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your what? Your attitude." It say embrace creative what? Thinking. It says by Muhammad Ali, "A man who views the world the same at 50 as he did at 20 has wasted 30 years of life." Interesting. Share with others. Charles Darwin, quote, "It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." Consult with a mental health professional. When you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm is all about. Quote, Haruki Murakami. My apologies if I said that incorrect in the last name. It says how to maintain positive change. Don't lose sight of your goals. Celebrate consistency. Invest in self-care. It says prioritize your physical, emotional, taking care of you. A healthy mind and body will help you to be energized to invest in your goals, whether it's exercise, hobbies, or mindfulness. Use visual reminders. Recognize negative triggers. Learn to love change. Anyone can explore life's exciting possibilities, including you. When you embrace change, whether suitable or significant, you invest in your personal growth and fulfillment. While it may be hard work, recognizing your values, setting clear goals, and bringing your community on board, will help transform change from an obstacle to what? Self-betterment. So just think about those things, and those things can transform your life. It goes back to taking control of your health. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to go to your doctor and get that yearly checkup. Don't be afraid to do the things that's necessary for you to have a brighter tomorrow. The title of this was How to Embrace Change and Why It's Necessary for Growth. I got some, but not all, of some of my topic and the things that I just discussed in today's podcast from this article, which was written by Elizabeth Perry. I also want to let you know that embracing change, self-compassion, and it's always good. Acknowledge feelings. Acknowledge your feelings. It's okay to have feelings. It is. But that doesn't mean that you should feel like you can't have feelings. I have feelings. But in my line of work, I have had to not to share those feelings. I have had to be able to, you have to do your job. And sometimes when you have to do your job, feelings have to be set aside. That's just the bottom line. The way I have been trained is basically it's been like, you have a job to do. You can have your feelings about how you feel about it later, but right now, your focus has to stay with your job. Your focus has to stay on this task. Your focus has to stay what's in front of you. That's the focus. You have to set your feelings aside. You ain't got time to shed a tear. You ain't got time to cry. You have to stay focused. And if you can't do that, that's basically, if you can't do that, then you need to go take what they say. Take some time off. But right now, we need you to stay focused. So that's one of the reasons why people may feel that I'm just kind of heartless, or I'm just don't deal with this. I don't have the time. I really don't have the time. I don't have time to get caught up in people's BS. I don't have time to get caught up in no drama. I don't have time to deal with your negative attitude. I don't have time to deal with your mess. I have to also do the things that I have to do. And in order for me to do those things, then I have to stay focused. And me staying focused means I ain't got time to be dealing with no man that want to be out there in the streets doing this and every damn thing else. That's what that means. So, no, sometimes I probably not going to get caught up. I don't have the time to get caught up. It's either you're going to come in it and you're going to be straight. You're going to be honest. You're going to be consistent. And if you can't do that, then it's no point in me doing that. That's why you hear me say all the time, you know what? I can do this by myself. I don't have to be in no relationship with nobody if they got to feel like they're going to get to disrespect me. Because you don't get to disrespect me. You don't get to go out there and do the things that I'm saying I'm not going to put up with. Because if I'm not going to do it, you don't get to do it. Not to me anyway. But this topic we just discussed was about embracing change and your capabilities and your ability to be able to do that. And we all can at any point in time. Sometimes you just have to do what? It's just take that first initial step. If you feel that there's something in your life that you need to change, analyze it. Take out a piece of paper and then ask yourself, what am I going to do to make the change? How am I going to go about doing it? And if you analyze everything in your life and feel that you don't need to change anything, then don't change anything. If everything that you're doing right now is working for you and you're happy, you're growing, you're making progress, then you don't need to change anything. You do not. But it goes back to that question is, sometimes we get stuck. And now I'm asking, how do we get unstuck? That's the topic to come. I'm Keisha, and thank you for listening to the Keisha Podcast Show.